No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. The Full Gear pay-per-view event is this coming Saturday. NoDQ.com will have live coverage of Full Gear. If you missed it, the predictions video for Full Gear is up on the No DQ YouTube channel. Check that out. Now, let's get started with Dynamite. Shout out to Joey Perez, Matthew, Eric, Nick Glavin, Walter for coming in early tonight. I appreciate it. Our first match was Orange Cassidy and Hook versus Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta. Cassidy and Hook went right after Blackpool Combat Club in the crowd. They were fighting in the crowd before the bell even rang. They finally got into the ring. Orange Cassidy was hurting a bit. You had Moxley and Yuta working over Hook for a while. Cassidy eventually got back into the mix. It was a competitive match. Orange Cassidy hit the orange punch to Jon Moxley, but Moxley no-sold it, did not react to the orange punch. Hook went for Red Rum, but Wheeler Yuta was able to save Moxley, and then Yuta pinned Hook, which I was surprised about. I thought for sure Yuta was going to be taking the fall here, but Yuta picks up the win, and I guess that makes him the number one contender for the ever so prestigious FTW title. Shout out to City by the Bay, Marshall Leonard, who was on our Full Gear panel, Casa D18 Studios, JJ Williams in the house, and Matthew. Thank you all for tuning in. After the match was over, Moxley got on the mic, basically said Orange Cassidy is nothing, and he is going to grind him into dust and win that international title at Full Gear. I predicted Orange Cassidy to win, and I am sticking with my prediction because they made Moxley look dominant over Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy showed some weakness here. I think Orange Cassidy is going in as the serious underdog. He's already taken an L to Moxley, so I think he's getting the win on Saturday at Full Gear. Solid open to the show. And then we had Tony Schiavone in the ring speaking with Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. Now, the gist of this was that the two of them could not touch. If they did, they would be suspended for the rest of the year, and their match at Full Gear would be called off. Shout out to Randy Engel, Calvin Bowman, Mohammed. They're also in the chat room. I appreciate it. And yes, I am Mr. No Days Off, including next Wednesday, which is my birthday, November 22nd. I will be right back here after Dynamite to discuss the show. That's how we roll here on No DQ. No days off. Just keep on plugging away week after week. That's how we do it. Anyways, Swerve was asked about why he broke into Page's house, but before he could answer it, Page grabbed the mic. He went to town on Swerve, called him a waste, called him a dumbass. They got fired 2 years ago, fired from WWE. Did not mention WWE, though. Said that Swerve can't cut it, and that's why his fiance left him and his kids won't talk to him. Page was getting personal here, and he brought up Prince Nana, how Nana is just using him to go buy weed, and Page said he's going to beat Swerve and then take Nana's weed. He called Swerve a child and said that he's been working with kids for a long time. Wonder if that was a CM Punk reference there. Page said that he is going to be the judge, jury, and execution at Full Gear. And then he said while he could not do anything to Swerve, he could do something to Nana. He attacked Nana, and then security came out there, and Paige attacked them, beat them down, and was left standing here. I thought it was a good segment. A few little minor issues. First of all, I know they're trying to build up the heat for it, but is it really a good idea to remind everybody that Swerve got fired from WWE, that he was basically considered not good enough to keep on the roster? Like, I'm not sure I would remind people of that. I know you're trying to go for the insults and make it personal, but you could have just done the family stuff. Mention his wife leaving him or his fiance leaving him. Like, did you really need to mention that he was fired from WWE? And the other thing is, like, the CM Punk reference. Like, why are they still doing this? They made the CM Punk reference actually quite a few last week. And the thing is, if you don't want fans to think CM Punk is coming back, then stop with the references. Like, you do this, you take the little cheap shots, it's over. The guy got fired. So why are you making references to CM Punk if he's not coming back? All it's going to do is create more speculation. Now people are like, well, wait a minute, maybe CM Punk is coming back. Maybe he's the devil. And then when the devil is not CM Punk, people are going to be disappointed. So you really got to knock it off. If Punk's not coming back, then let it be, as Paul McCartney would say. Anyways, moving on here. I did like the segment overall. We did have Roderick Strong backstage. He says he knows who the devil is, and he called up Adam Cole, and they have the screen there, so Adam Cole's on FaceTime or something, and Strong said it's MJF who's the devil, and Adam disagreed. He said Max is not the devil, and maybe Roddy is the devil. And then he hung up on Roddy, and Roddy was very upset. He yelled out, "Adam!" And that was the end of that. We then had our women's match, which was not at 9:30 to 9:15 to 9:30. Meant to say that. It was not in the usual spot because they decided to give a lot of time to the street fight match, which we'll talk here in a few minutes about. Sky Blue versus Red Velvet. Blue versus Red. And Chris Statlander was watching backstage. The winner of this match was going to get the third spot in the TBS title match at this Saturday's Full Gear pay-per-view. Match was pretty solid, I thought. Very competitive, back and forth. They were trading near falls, like rolling around the ring, trying to get the flash pin. And then they had some big moves, the Skyfall. Then Red Velvet hit a power bomb, but they kept kicking out. Some super kicks traded back and forth. Unfortunately, the finish was botched. The code blue from Sky Blue did not look good. Crowd was booing it, but they didn't call an audible or anything, try to do it again or do a different finish. They just did it. Was botched, and that was the end of it. And yeah, Blue Velvet, Blue Sky, Sky Blue, Red Velvet. It can get confusing. Where's a wrestler named Purple? Maybe Purple could be their tag team. If Sky Blue and Red Velvet team up, they would be Purple something, right? So yeah, there you go. There's an idea for the future if they're going to do a tag team. Shout out to Hamp Connell. Thank you for tuning in, Hamp. Hamp sent in a $5 super chat. I appreciate that. Says, today in history in 1998, the Survivor Series Deadly Games for the WWF title ends with The Rock joining the corporation. They screwed us all, Jim Ross. That was a very memorable angle at Survivor Series when The Rock, you thought he was a good guy, but then we had a recreation of the Montreal Screwjob, and yeah, Vince McMahon was the guy to get the last laugh in that whole Montreal deal. Like, Bret Hart got screwed, and Brett went to WCW, and everybody thought that it was the beginning of the end for WWE, and Brett was going to be an even bigger star in WCW. And a year later, WWE turned things around, and they took that Montreal angle and turned it into millions of dollars, building up The Rock as the corporate champion and furthering the feud between Vince and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, we move on here to a Miro promo hyping up Collision. He's going up against Danny Garcia, and Collision is on Friday night this week, which is funny because SmackDown is on Friday. It's going to be a wild night. I might have to watch both shows and give a recap of both shows this Friday night. Friday Night Wars, but I'm not sure AEW is really trying too hard to compete here. I mean, Miro versus Daniel Garcia against SmackDown. Yeah. City by the Bay sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, if Tony Khan is the devil, I have to do something. Oh boy. I mean, I really don't think it'll be Tony Khan. Anything's possible, but Tony Khan should not be a television character by any means. Like, he just doesn't have it. It's fine for him to run AEW, but he should not be on TV. Get somebody else to be the authority figure. Have somebody be your president of AEW as a TV character or general manager or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be Tony Khan. And Tony Khan being the devil does nothing for me, either on a personal level or business-wise. CM Punk showing up at Survivor Series is good for my business, which is why I'm willing to do something if CM Punk shows up, because I'll be motivated to play the alto saxophone again. I said it, and I'm sticking to it. If CM Punk returns to WWE at Survivor Series, I will learn how to play the alto saxophone again. I used to play it as a kid, gave up on it, but I will be motivated to pick up the instrument, and I'll play some music. I'll play some wrestling theme songs here on the No DQ YouTube channel if it happens. But I'm not betting on it, and I do. We also had Mariah May, who's the newest female signing in AEW. She was at Tony Storm's locker room, and when the door was opened by Luther, who's the butler now for Tony Storm, the video went to black and white, and Mariah May talked about how honored she is, huge fan of Tony Storm, so they're planting the seeds for whatever this storyline is going to be. Then Samoa Joe won a quick squash match, and then afterwards he got on the mic and offered his hand in friendship once again to MJF. And we'll see what happens with that. More on that in a few minutes with MJF. We had a tag team match, Penta and Commander versus the Young Bucks. This show was in Ontario, California, which is the home region of the Young Bucks. About an hour drive, maybe a little bit less, depending on traffic, to Rancho Cucamonga, where they grew up. Actually, I take that back. I think Rancho Cucamonga is very close to Ontario. I was thinking of Hesperia, which is more out in the desert. I think Rancho Cucamonga is like a suburb of Ontario and kind of near San Bernardino. Anyways, it's still like all these areas are like 90 minutes from downtown Los Angeles, for those of you wanting your geography lesson for the night. So Penta and Commander versus the Bucks. Bucks went for a handshake, but then super kicked these guys. The Bucks were acting very heelish despite being in their hometown because, well, they're heels now. Match was very good, like very much what you would expect. And thank you, JJ. Yeah, Rancho Cucamonga is like 5-10 minutes from Ontario. So basically, the hometown of the Young Bucks, but I believe they've been living in Hesperia. Anyways, lots of super kicks in this match, lots of dives. Commander came off of Penta's shoulders at one point and hit a double DDT to both Bucks. Penta hit the Made in Japan to Nick, but Matt broke it up, and then Commander nearly got the win on Matt, but Matt kicked out, and then Nick Jackson kicked both guys low while the referee's back was turned. Crowd booed this. They were not happy that their hometown guys were cheating, but that's what they do. And then Nick used Chris Jericho's Judas effect to send a message to Chris Jericho. Then the Bucks got the win with the BTE trigger. Beat Commander. So, I mean, it was what you would expect here with these guys, and the guy you thought was going to take the fall was the one who took the fall. But Bucks were not losing in their hometown on the road to full. Predictable but entertaining. And then afterwards, the Bucks were asked by Renee Paquette backstage why did they cheat in their hometown? And the Bucks just said they don't give a damn about the rules. And that's when Kenny Omega confronted them, and Bucks said that their heat is not with Omega, it's with Chris Jericho. Jericho came in his suit. Jericho, Paul Wight were wearing suits for their street fight for whatever reason. I think it's part of the video game, the Ninja Gaiden game or whatever it's called. A big fight broke out. And backstage brawl. Then the Guns came out there and picked up a victory. Very quick win for the Guns to set up their pre-show match against MJF and a potential partner for the ROH Tag Team titles at Full Gear. And they cut a promo, brought up how all of MJF's friends are gone. They're going to win the titles. Yada, yada, yada. And then we had a Wardlow vignette, said the days of the devil are coming to an end and he's going to make the devil his bitch. And then we also got a picture of the devil at the end. Now they're setting up Wardlow versus MJF, even though MJF has a title match this Saturday. Kind of feels like it's obvious who's winning the world title match at Full Gear, but we'll talk more about that in just a few moments. We had our Sega street fight here, whatever this game is called, something Return of the Ninja Gaiden. I don't even know what the hell the name of the game is. Some video game with Sega sponsored this match, and we had Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Brian Cage, who was on loan from the Mogul Embassy. I think that's the name of the group, going up against Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, Kota Ibushi, and Paul Wight. Now, like I said, Jericho and Wight were dressed in suits. People were saying Yakuza, so I guess that's what it is. Maybe a reference to Yakuza mafia people in Japan. This match, I mean, very polarizing. Like, it's one of those matches where people either loved it or hated it because it was very much a train wreck. I mean, I was entertained by it, so I guess I fall in the category of I enjoyed the match. But if you hated this match, I do not blame you. I mean, I totally understand why you would not like it. It was very much a train wreck, like a car crash. Now, they had Paul Wight chokeslamming Kyle Fletcher off the stage through a table. So Kyle Fletcher was taken out for a little bit. And then Paul Wight fought with Will Hobbs in the parking lot. And Will Hobbs ended up giving Paul Wight a body slam off a platform onto a car. And I'm thinking to myself, man, Paul Wight better be getting paid a lot to take this one bump, because that was brutal. Like I can't see how that would not have been very painful for Paul Wight. Like you can work a match and you can take safe bumps, but I really don't feel there was any real safe way for a 500-pound guy to take a bump where he's being tossed onto a car. Yeah, that had to have hurt legitimately. And Paul Wight was taken out of the match, so the odds were against Jericho and Omega's team, and they had all sorts of weapons out there for this match, lots of props. And at one point, Kota Ibushi got on a bicycle. Now, this was a very inside obscure reference to a WCW match in the mid 90s where a wrestler, I'm forgetting which wrestler, but a wrestler, maybe somebody in the chat room knows, this wrestler used a bicycle in a match. Like he was riding the bicycle, and Dusty Rhodes was all hysterical. He's got a bicycle in Dusty Rhodes' voice. I'm not even going to try to imitate it. And it became a meme. Like it's used on Botchamania. It's part of their intro. So very obscure reference here. And if you don't know this reference, then you're wondering, why is Excalibur acting all goofy when Ibushi's riding a bicycle? Like, you'd be very confused if you don't get the reference. You think, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And even Tony Schiavone didn't even get the reference. And he was in WCW at the time, and he was lost. So anyways, yeah, a bicycle was used, not just riding it, but using it as a weapon in this match. And then Hobbs came back out there to help out his team. And Brian Cage did his suplex where he's standing on the second rope and he suplexes Omega over the top all the way to the outside through two tables. According to Antonius, it was Big Boss Man when he was Big Bubba riding the bike. So thank you for that, Antonius. So yeah, Omega takes a big bump here through two tables. And then the match continued. Jericho and Takeshita were fighting in the concession stand area. Jericho used a fire extinguisher and then laid out Takeshita with the Judas effect. And then back in the ring, you had Fletcher giving Ibushi a pile driver, like a tombstone pile driver, through a makeshift table. Like one of those props were placed on some chairs, and they made a little table out of it. And somehow Ibushi got up before Fletcher, and then Hobbs was taken out of the equation as he was taped up to the ropes with duct tape. And Jericho even taped up Hobbs's mouth because Hobbs was trash talking. Then Cage came in to try and make the save, but he got hit with the V trigger, and then Cage got pinned with the one-winged angel. Brian Cage got pinned, as I expected when he was in the match. You know, you got to have somebody take the fall here, and he was the obvious guy. And for what it was, I was entertained by it. Like, it was a car wreck. It was very over the top, but it was fun. I thought it was fun. I really didn't have any issues with it. And then we had our final segment of the evening, MJF. And I don't know if the Callis feud is over. I would not be shocked if it continues. MJF came out for the final segment. He apologized for the Acclaim getting attacked last week and caught in the crossfire of MJF's life. He doesn't think, though, that Jay White can beat him. And he's also going to find out who the devil is, and there will be hell to pay. Jay White showed up, no relation to Paul Wight, and said that MJF is the villain and always will be, and his days as champion are officially numbered. Then he had the Bullet Club Gold show up and attack MJF. Juice Robinson knocked out MJF with his ring. Guns hit the 310 to Yuma, and then Wight hit the Blade Runner, and once again did the pinfall on MJF to symbolize that he's got MJF's number, but obvious now, as if it wasn't before, very clear that MJF's retaining the title. I would be shocked if he doesn't. So all in all, pretty solid Dynamite. Like, not my favorite show. I thought as far as a go-home show goes, it was okay. Like, I'd probably go a B. I'll give it a B. Good show overall. Street fight was entertaining, and the Bucks had a good match. And yeah, it was solid. Solid stuff. Nothing too shocking or crazy other than the street fight. I mean, they did do a few spots in that match where I thought, yeah, that's a lot for a match on television, like not even a pay-per-view match. But hey, didn't have to pay for it, so there you go. We get a little bit of pay-per-view quality action on Dynamite. So there you go. Yeah, solid B. Good show. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. Says, today in history in 1989, the infamous I Quit match between Ric Flair and Terry Funk at Clash of the Champions 9. That was a great match. I mean, that was one of Terry Funk's best matches, in my opinion, and he's had some good ones. But if people ask me, like, what are Terry Funk's best matches? I mean, that's got to be up there towards the top of great Terry Funk matches and just a great feud in general. I loved the angle they did when Flair beat Ricky Steamboat to win back the title, and then Terry Funk was jealous and beat the crap out of Flair and then put him through a table. Like, that was a fantastic angle, and they had a great match too. So yeah, definitely check that stuff out if you've never seen it. Terry Funk versus Ric Flair. Awesome feud. And happy birthday to Joey Perez. Happy birthday to all the November people. A lot of November birthdays, including mine, next Wednesday night. And I will be here, birthday or not, to recap Dynamite. And we got a busy week coming up. We got Full Gear. Jeff was checking in with the No DQ schedule. So, Jeff, I'm not sure if you're still in the chat, but I'll let you know. I'll confirm it with you. We got the Raw recap coming up next Monday after Full Gear, and then Survivor Series predictions on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Dynamite recap, my birthday, next Wednesday, and then Talk Wrestling will be on Thursday. SmackDown recap on Friday. Survivor Series recap on Saturday, and then No DQ review will be back on the 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. All that's coming up. And of course, we got SmackDown and Collision this Friday. And I think I'm going to try to recap both shows. We'll see if I can make that work. And then Saturday night or early Sunday morning, I'll be back on here with a recap of AEW Full Gear. A lot coming up. If you enjoy the videos, please give this a like and spread the word. Tell a friend. Anything you can do to help out as far as word of mouth goes, it's very much appreciated. And check out Jeff Meacham Network and Casa D18 Studios. They put out great stuff. Watch their videos, their watch-alongs. Like, that's tough. Doing a watch-along is tough, and they do it for all these shows. So follow them if you like the watch-alongs. Take care, everybody. And I will see you all next time. And remember, say yeah to NoDQ.com. Pick up a shirt at NoDQ.com/merch. Maybe get one for the holidays. And I'll see you all next time.